So the Try Guys are big YouTubers who try out many different activities. And in the case of this video, join the dark side, sir, and just shave it. And then the predictable and generic, take a beginner and let's try CrossFit video. And I went into the video ready to go catabolic. However, I came out of watching the video with a complete admiration for all those involved.
And that's the way the news goes.
And so what was meant to be an episode of Bear Attacks has turned into an episode of the Care Bears. Importantly, we have to separate the CrossFit games from CrossFit. And we have to understand that CrossFit as a whole encompasses many different aspects, as the CrossFit brand is a business and the CrossFit games are a large business. And so it's important to separate that. On the thumbnail, I show a CrossFit games athlete and then really just the average Joes who are taking part in CrossFit to develop their physical fitness. And they're very different things. And so with integrity, we really should separate the two, because for sure, the CrossFit games are not representative of all those who take part in CrossFit. And as a disclaimer, I've never done an organized CrossFit session. However, I frequently cross-train. I love cross-training. I find that different forms of physical activity keep me looking young and keep my hair bouncy. And so absolutely, we have to acknowledge that there are horrific injuries that we see in the CrossFit sphere. There are negligent trainers, there are people doing dangerous things, and there are people who take part in CrossFit who essentially destroy their bodies by running their bodies into the ground, like putting your foot to the floor in a race car, as they don't really have a chronic and long-term view and planning of their training, where longevity is, of course, of importance. But, and it's a big but, that is not representative of all people that take part in CrossFit, and it's not representative of all CrossFit gyms and trainers. As there are negligent trainers in CrossFit spheres, of course there will be excellent, competent trainers. As there are people who do crazy stuff, there are people who approach CrossFit in a sensible manner. And so as much as me generically bashing on CrossFit would make this video more catchy and my jokes would have been fire in the hole, if we approach this with integrity, we simply cannot do that. And so perhaps the craze has settled down slightly now and the dust has settled, and we're seeing more balanced CrossFit information being communicated in social media, such as this video from the Try Guys. However, a few caveats. I'm not a fan of Olympic lifting for reps or time, and so that's something I will never get on board with. And so there are very much some fundamental issues that I have with some CrossFit workouts and programming. And for CrossFit, I would think that periodization is absolutely vital. I know there are set workouts, I know there are WODs, etc., and there's a certain structure to CrossFit training in that sense, but periodizing your training if you take part in CrossFit to make sure that you're not absolutely hammering your body all the time, burning it to the ground if you like, and that you have a view on longevity, a long-term lens looking at your training, preparing a macro cycle over a year, as with all forms of training really, will be important for you. But I absolutely am a fan of using many tools in your training, and CrossFit gyms do have great pieces of equipment. You have the rings, the barbells, the pull-ups, all these fantastic different tools you can use in training. And so let's get into what they actually say in the video. A gentleman who is the feature of the video, one of the Try Guys, is a complete beginner when it comes to training. I'm going to give the Try Guys a British accent. Oh no, I'm going to do the thing where the bar goes up. Oh, that's my biggest fear. I was in a weights class in the high school. The only other people in that class was the football team. So I think I've always operated from a place of intimidation. And so what comes across in this video is not just the physical challenge, but also this intimidation, this social challenge, if you like. And so it's great to see this trainer understanding this and structuring the class for this person where he can be confident and flourish. And that's so important with all forms of training. You see this all the time with people who are not confident in the gym. They're intimidated for some reason. And you've seen these horror stories where they go in and they have these trainers who have no understanding, and it just leads to a further negative experience. So I really loved to see in this video how not just the physical, but also the social and this aspect of intimidation was nurtured and broken through by this trainer and the way that he structured the session. I think it's the best platform for anyone who's trying to get into fitness. And so I would disagree with the trainer here. Anyone who says that CrossFit is the best form of training, or really that goes to many forms of training, again, there is really no generic best. What is best for you at a certain time depends on your specificity, your goals, your characteristics. And so we cannot generically say that CrossFit is the best form of training, for example, because everything is scalable. However, when he makes this statement, I really do like what he's saying. Again, this refers to adjusting the load, the exercise selection, etc. for the person taking part who's a complete beginner. And this is very important to avoid seeing some of the CrossFit fails you may see where people perform exercises and loads where they are not in a place to execute them, and we see terrible consequences. And again, that's due to the negligence of trainers and the inexperience of people taking part. And when you put them together, it's a recipe for disaster. Props to the trainer in this video, that's not something he's going to allow to happen. And so then he gives a basic example of the push-ups and how if you're doing regular push-ups, it's too hard for you and your form is breaking, go to your knees. When you get stronger over time, then you can perform regular push-ups, etc. So that's a very basic visual example for these beginners to understand how you can modify exercises to meet your needs. It's also great to see people making that transition from not working out to getting confident, and now it's just part of their life. Philosophy that training and physical activity is not just for physical benefit, where there are many physical benefits, of course, from training, but also perhaps for mental health benefits, social benefits. Training really can play an integral part in your life. I cannot imagine a world where I'm not training in some form. And again, what hit home with me is the person taking part, who is a famous YouTuber by all aspects, being very open that it's health reasons that he's very much saying he needs to now get into a routine of physical activity. You know, you see lots of people at age 50 or 60 having heart attacks. I even had someone on my Facebook feed who probably has similar health to me who had a heart attack, and he's 33. And so I do need to state that a heart attack can happen for many reasons. However, of course, physical activity can decrease the risk of cardiovascular disease and complications and heart attack. And I think maybe that was one of the inciting incidents of I should change my lifestyle so I don't have that situation. And just my input into CrossFit training, I would think that in gyms, it would be beneficial to have a range of trainers from different backgrounds where they have specialties in certain disciplines of lifting, and therefore by working as a team they could encompass many specialisms of lifting and therefore teach the different aspects of cross training with competency. So the reason why we use PVC pipes, if you can't do it well with this thing, then there's no point to do it with the bar. And so he's teaching the form of an exercise and progressions. Now, this specific workout used a push jerk. However, he modifies it for this person who is a beginner to perform the push press and using a PVC pipe, and he teaches technique. In this clip, he shows what he wants to see with the movement, what he doesn't want to see, and you can see everyone practicing this with a pipe before they get onto the bar. So from a safety point of view, this is excellent. And so perhaps this is not what we've seen historically when we've seen these CrossFit fails, for example. Some of the context that there are good trainers and that there are safe and competent applications of CrossFit happening. And so again, just a slight critique. If I was going to take a complete beginner, I would not use a push press at all. I would start with a standard overhead press. However, I understand that in this specific workout, this class workout, they're using an explosive overhead movement. And so to be fair to the trainer, he does modify it from a push jerk to a push press, which is slightly less complex for the person taking part. However, just be aware that using a strict overhead press would perhaps be something that he may think about in the future with a complete beginner. A lot of times people do this. Yeah, I would expect to do this, because why would you want to give yourself a guillotine? Powerful Uriah Faber reference there. And then when we see the try guy performing it on the barbell, he has very decent execution. Now, they use a 75% load, which ain't the best idea for a complete beginner. However, looking at him, he ramps up. He starts with a light weight and he ramps up as he feels confident with his execution. And he has the coach right there with him, cueing him as he's doing it. So again, perhaps a 75% load ain't great, but this is the specifics in this CrossFit workout, and the coach has modified it to suit this gentleman where he's ramping up to a weight. And again, we can't say that this is 75%. I don't know his specifics of his lifting, but most certainly his execution is very decent, and he does not look in any immediate risk of danger the way that he's performing the lift. And then lastly in the video, he talks about the benefits of class training. And of course, a disadvantage of class training is you may not get that individual attention and programming. However, some of the benefits may be the the social aspects of training with friends, which can help you sustain your working out over a prolonged period of time. And consistency is absolutely the key with any form of training. Doing it with friends is definitely a lot better than doing it alone. Everybody's got different goals. You're just trying to meet your own goals, and it's a supportive environment. Someone get me the tissues because I'm about to go. Just joking. In all seriousness, this is very good stuff to see. And if training with friends is something that helps you with your adherence over time, that is perfectly valid. And so I think when we look at any exercise discipline, whether it's CrossFit or anything else, we should have an open mind. Of course, there will be crazy stuff happening in any discipline, but I think we should, with integrity, understand that there's also very good stuff happening. Public service announcement. I made a small cameo in a video by Michelle McDaniel on the YouTube channel. My thoughts will probably offend you, concerning Miss Sonali Rachetois and her nonsense. I've linked Michelle's video below. Have a gander. And so I'm James Linker. This is Shredded Sports Science. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you being here, and I appreciate everything you've given to me. I will see you soon.